Alex wiped the dust from the counter of his small repair shop. The trade station around him was always noisy with engines, machines, and thousands of voices. But inside his little shop, it was quiet. He liked it that way. Most of the aliens who came here wanted small tools fixed, communication devices repaired, or rare human items checked. Alex had learned how to fix almost anything, and that kept him alive on this floating city far away from Earth. He leaned back on his chair, humming to himself, when the door opened and the sound of soft metal footsteps entered. She was there again, the alien girl. Her skin was pale silver, shining under the dim lights, and her tall ears twitched as if the air itself hurt her. Her people were known to have very sensitive hearing, so sensitive that even the low hum of station engines made them frown. Every time she passed near humans, she glared because of the strange sounds humans carried with them, laughing too loud, clapping hands, humming, or sometimes blasting music. To her, it was all chaos. She stepped inside the shop, looking uncomfortable. Her long fingers brushed the shelves as if she wanted to distract herself from the noise outside. She spoke in a calm but sharp tone. "You humans always bring strange sounds. My ears burn whenever you gather in groups." Alex chuckled. He had heard this before. "Maybe your ears are too soft," he said, pretending to be serious. "Or maybe you've never heard real music." Her eyes narrowed. "Music? You mean the violent storm you call songs? Those screams, those crashing noises? My kind would rather die than listen." Alex grinned. He could not resist teasing her. "What if I told you I have something even stronger than the station engines? Something so wild it makes thunder sound weak?" The girl tilted her head, unsure if he was joking or mad. Curiosity flickered in her bright eyes, even though she tried to hide it. "What are you talking about?" Alex leaned down and pulled out an old metal case from under the counter. Dust flew when he opened it. Inside was a small device, an ancient human music player, connected to two heavy speakers he had restored with his own hands. The girl took a step back as if it were a weapon. "What is that?" she whispered. "This," Alex said proudly, "is a piece of Earth's heart. We call it rock music. Hard rock." The alien girl frowned deeply. "Hard rock? Rocks do not sing." He laughed. "Trust me, this one does. But be warned, once you hear it, you might not forget it." She crossed her arms, trying to look unimpressed, but her ears twitched again, showing her nervousness. "If your machine hurts my ears, I will report you." Alex shrugged. "Then report me. But first, just listen." Her lips pressed tightly, but her feet did not move. She stayed, and that told Alex everything. She was curious, even if she did not admit it. He bent over the device and pressed a small button. A faint electric hum filled the shop. The girl flinched instantly, raising her hands toward her ears. Then suddenly, the sound burst out. The guitars struck first, sharp, heavy, and alive. The drums followed like thunder beating against metal walls. The voice roared through the speakers, deep and powerful, carrying both anger and joy at once. The alien girl gasped and stumbled back. Her body trembled as if lightning had struck her. She pressed her palms hard against her ears, certain that her head would break apart. "Stop! It is too much!" she shouted, but Alex only watched her carefully. He knew the first seconds always shocked newcomers. Her knees bent, but she did not run. Her breath came fast, chest rising and falling like she had been running. She peeked through her fingers, eyes wide as the sound continued to crash over her like ocean waves. She expected unbearable pain, but instead something strange happened. Her heartbeat began to follow the drums. Her chest no longer felt crushed. It felt alive. The vibrations inside her ears spread through her body, turning into energy instead of pain. She lowered her hands a little. Her ears twitched wildly, but her eyes stayed locked on the speakers. She whispered something Alex could barely hear. It is fire." Alex tilted his head. "What did you say?" She swallowed hard, her silver skin glowing faintly under the shop's light. "It feels like fire inside me. It is not only noise. It is something else." The song reached a high point. The guitar screamed, the drums pounded faster, and the singer's voice tore through the air. The girl's lips parted in shock. She thought her body would break apart, yet she could not step away. The chaos had turned into something strange and beautiful, something her people had never felt. Alex turned down the volume slightly, worried she might faint. "Are you okay?" She looked at him with wide eyes, trembling but unable to hide the small smile forming on her lips. Why? Why do I want to hear more?" Alex's grin widened. He leaned back casually, though inside he was thrilled, because this is human spirit. It's loud, messy, and wild, but once it touches you, it stays forever. The girl's hands slowly fell from her ears. Her body was still shaking, but she stood straight now. For the first time, she did not look disgusted by human sound. She looked hungry for it. The silence that followed when Alex stopped the player felt heavier than the music itself. She blinked several times, then whispered, almost to herself, "I thought it would destroy me, but it woke something I didn't know existed." Alex only smiled and closed the metal case. "Then come back tomorrow. There's much more where that came from." The alien girl hesitated, her pride fighting against her curiosity, but as she turned to leave, her hand lingered on the counter. Her voice dropped so low it was almost a secret. "Maybe I will." "Would you like me to now expand part 2, the first shock, into 900 words in the same style?" The next day the girl returned, though she walked into the shop pretending she was annoyed. Her silver skin caught the soft light, and her tall ears twitched as if searching for danger. She placed her hands on her hips and spoke sharply. "I only came to tell you that your noise nearly broke my head yesterday." Alex leaned back in his chair with a smirk. "If it was so bad, why are you back?" he asked. The girl froze for a second, her lips tightening. She turned her eyes away, pretending to look at the shelves filled with broken tools and small machines. "I wanted to make sure you never play it again," she muttered. Alex chuckled softly. He could see she was curious. He reached under the counter again, pulling out the old music player. Her eyes instantly followed the movement, her breathing faster though she tried to stay calm. "I should leave," she said quickly, but her feet did not move. Alex raised an eyebrow. "Just one song. If it hurts, I'll turn it off. Promise." Her long fingers tapped against her arm. Her people never enjoyed loudness. Even a sudden shout could send them reeling. But the strange fire she had felt yesterday still burned inside her chest. She hated that she wanted it again, yet the hunger was stronger than her pride. Slowly, she gave a small nod. Alex smiled, adjusting the wires connected to the speakers. He pressed the button, and at once the room filled with heavy guitar strikes. The sound poured like a storm. The girl gasped and staggered back, her hands rushing to cover her ears again. The noise felt sharper this time, like blades of thunder piercing through her head. She thought her body would collapse. Her knees shook, and for a moment she almost screamed at him to stop. But then something happened, just like before. Her chest began to rise and fall in rhythm with the drum beats. Her heart matched the pounding of the music. The pain started to fade, replaced by a wild rush of energy she could not explain. Her eyes widened, and she lowered her hands slightly. She could feel the floor vibrate under her feet, the air around her shaking, and it no longer felt like danger. It felt like freedom. The guitar screamed louder, the drums hit faster, and the singer's raw voice tore through the shop. She trembled, her body moving without her permission. It was as if the music had taken control of her blood. Her lips parted, and though she could not understand the human words, she felt the emotion behind them. Anger, power, hope, all crashing together. Her hands lowered completely now. She stood still, trembling, her tall ears twitching in shock, but also leaning forward as if trying to catch every note. Alex watched her closely, his eyes curious but also proud. He had seen humans react to this music before, but seeing her, an alien with such delicate senses, stand strong in front of it made his heart race. The girl whispered, her voice breaking, "Why does it feel like lightning inside me?" Alex lowered the volume slightly so she could breathe. "Because that's what it is. It's lightning, fire, storms, everything humans put in sound. You're not just hearing it, you're feeling it." She pressed her hands against her chest, feeling her own heartbeat slamming against her ribs. Her eyes glowed faintly, her species' way of showing strong emotions. "It is dangerous," she whispered. "It will break me." Alex shook his head. "Or it will make you stronger." Her eyes snapped toward him. For a moment she thought he was mocking her, but the calm in his voice told her he meant every word. She turned her gaze back to the speakers. The sound swirled around her, heavy and wild, and she realized she was no longer afraid. Her body swayed slightly, her feet shifting in small steps, like she was learning how to move with the rhythm. The song reached a higher point, the guitar rising like a scream from the heavens. She gasped again, but this time it was not pain. It was wonder. She felt as though the sound was unlocking doors inside her that had never been opened before. Her people always told her to stay calm, stay silent, avoid strong noise. But now, for the first time, she understood why humans shouted, why they sang, why they made such chaos. It was not just sound, it was life. Her lips curled into a shaky smile. She almost laughed, but the sound stuck in her throat. Instead, she whispered, "I cannot stop. I want more." Alex leaned forward on the counter, his grin wide. "Told you, rock isn't just music, it's a storm you invite inside. Once you let it in, it never leaves." The song slowly ended, leaving the shop in silence. The silence felt heavier than the noise, almost unbearable. The girl stood frozen, her chest still rising fast, her body still trembling. Her ears twitched as if still hearing echoes of the guitar. She blinked several times, then turned her glowing eyes on Alex. "You tricked me," she said softly. He shrugged. "Maybe, but you don't regret it." Her lips pressed into a thin line, but the small smile on her face betrayed her words. "I should hate you for this," she whispered, "but I don't." Alex leaned back, folding his arms. "Then you'll be back tomorrow." The girl did not answer. She turned toward the door, walking slowly, but before she stepped out, she glanced back. For a brief moment, her proud, sharp expression broke, replaced with a look of pure hunger, for the music, for the fire inside her chest. Then she left without another word, but Alex knew. He knew she would return. Would you like me to now expand part 3, a dangerous obsession, into 900 words in the same suspenseful, simple English style? She tried to tell herself she would never return, that the strange human noise was too dangerous, too wild for her kind. But the fire in her chest would not leave. At night, she lay awake, her tall ears twitching, remembering the rhythm that made her heart beat faster. The silence of her home felt heavy and empty. She hated it, hated the way her body now craved something she once feared. By the third day, she gave up pretending. Her feet carried her back to the little human shop, though she told herself she only came to scold him again. Alex was repairing a broken device when he looked up and saw her in the doorway. He smiled knowingly, though he said nothing. She crossed her arms tightly, trying to look proud, but her glowing eyes betrayed her. "I only came because you left me restless," she said quickly. "My chest feels strange after your storm noise. Fix it." Alex leaned on the counter, hiding his laugh. "I can fix it," he said, "but only by giving you more of it." Her mouth opened as if to argue, but no words came. She wanted more. She hated that she wanted it, but the truth burned too bright inside her. Finally, she whispered, "One song. Only one." Alex nodded, already setting up the speakers. He chose a heavier track this time, one with deep drums and powerful guitar riffs. The moment he pressed play, the room exploded with sound. The girl gasped, staggering back as her body shook. But unlike before, she did not raise her hands to cover her ears. Her eyes stayed fixed on the speakers, wide and unblinking. The pounding drums filled her chest, the screaming guitar cut through her thoughts, and the raw human voice tore open something deep inside her. She swayed on her feet, her breathing sharp and uneven, but she could not look away. Her long fingers trembled, reaching toward the sound as if she could touch it. Her lips parted, whispering words without meaning. Then, without realizing it, her feet began to move. First small steps, then strange, jerky motions, as though her body was learning how to dance. She stumbled, caught herself, and then laughed, a raw, broken laugh she had never made before. Alex's eyes widened. "You're moving to the beat," he said, half in awe. The girl froze, realizing what she was doing. Her people never moved like that, never let themselves lose control to rhythm. Shame and pride clashed inside her, but the fire was stronger. She shook her head quickly. "No, I am not," she said, but her body betrayed her, still swaying to the drums. The song grew louder, faster. She pressed her hands to her chest, feeling her heartbeat slam against her ribs, perfectly timed with the music. Her ears twitched wildly, but she no longer felt pain. Instead, she felt alive, as if the sound had turned her blood into fire and lightning. Her whisper broke into a shout. "More! Louder!" Alex hesitated. He knew her species' bodies were fragile against sound, that too much vibration could damage their inner balance. But the way she looked at him, eyes glowing bright, face lit with raw hunger, he could not refuse. Slowly, he turned the volume higher. The shop shook, the walls trembled, and dust fell from the shelves. The girl laughed again, her voice wild, almost mad, as she threw her arms open, letting the sound crash into her. She spun in a clumsy circle, her silver hair whipping around, her tall ears flicking with each wave of noise. She looked nothing like the calm, cold alien who once scolded him. She looked free, dangerous, alive. When the song ended, the silence fell heavy once again. She stood panting, her body shaking, her glowing eyes still fixed on the speakers. Her lips curved into a smile so wide it almost frightened Alex. "This," she whispered breathlessly, "this is not noise. This is life." Alex grinned, leaning back. "Told you. You're a rock girl now." Her eyes narrowed slightly, though the smile remained. "Rock girl," she repeated, as if testing the strange human nickname. For the first time, she did not reject it. She liked it. But outside the shop, whispers had begun to spread. Other aliens had seen her going in and out of the human's place. They murmured about her strange behavior, about how she dared to stay near the human's dangerous sounds. Some called her reckless. Others called her broken. She knew the rumors would reach her elders soon. Fear touched her heart, but only for a moment. Then she remembered the fire inside her, the way the music made her body feel like more than flesh and bone. She decided she did not care. For the first time in her life, she felt like she had something worth fighting for. Alex noticed the flicker of worry in her face. "You okay?" he asked softly. She looked at him with fierce determination. "If they try to stop me," she said, her voice sharp as steel, "I will not let them. I will not give this up." Alex's grin faded into something more serious. He saw the truth in her eyes. This was no longer curiosity. It was obsession. Dangerous, beautiful obsession. And he knew it would only grow stronger. "Would you like me to now expand Part 4, The Clash of Cultures, into 900 words with the same suspenseful, simple English style?" The rumors spread faster than she expected. By the fourth day, her people were already watching her with sharp eyes. In the market, whispers followed her steps. Some pointed at her ears, saying they looked damaged from human noise. Others shook their heads, calling her foolish for spending time in the human's shop. When she returned home that evening, her elder sister confronted her. "You smell of chaos," she hissed. "You've been near that human again." The girl did not answer. She could not explain the fire inside her chest, the rhythm still echoing in her bones. Instead, she locked herself in her room, trembling with both fear and desire. The next day, she returned to Alex, though her steps were heavy. He noticed her troubled face and frowned. "They know, don't they?" he asked. She gave a small nod, her lips pressed tight. "They say I am broken. They say you have poisoned me." Alex leaned back, sighing. He had expected this. Her people were strict about sound. Too much vibration could upset their delicate balance senses, and they believed loudness was harmful, even sinful. But before Alex could speak, the door to his shop opened. 3 elders stood there, tall and proud, their ears twitching with anger. Behind them, a small crowd gathered, curious to see what would happen. The lead elder, his silver skin glowing faintly with authority, pointed at the girl. "You shame us," he declared. "We warned you never to mix with humans, never to taste their chaos. Yet here you are, drowning in it." The girl froze, her hands shaking. Her heart raced, but she remembered the fire, the freedom she had felt in the storm of sound. She lifted her chin slowly, her voice trembling but steady enough to carry. "It is not poison," she said. "It is strength. It is life." The crowd gasped. No one had ever spoken back to the elders so boldly. Alex's eyes widened. He wanted to tell her to stop, to stay quiet before things turned violent, but it was too late. The elder's voice grew sharp like a blade. "You dare defend this? Noise? You disgrace your bloodline. You are not one of us if you believe such filth." The girl's voice grew louder, carried by the memory of the music. "It is not filth. When I hear it, I feel my heart beat like thunder. I feel alive. You speak of silence, of calm, but silence is death. This sound is freedom." The hall outside the shop filled with murmurs. Some aliens shook their heads in disgust. Others looked uncertain, their ears twitching as if wondering what she meant. The elder turned his fury on Alex. "You," he barked. "You brought this curse. You dare infect one of our young with your violent storms? You will pay for this crime." Alex straightened, his jaw tight. He knew stepping forward could put him in danger, but he would not let them blame her alone. "She chose to listen," he said calmly. "I didn't force her. She came back because she wanted more." The girl gasped softly at his words. No human had ever defended her like that before. But the elders were not moved. If you value your life, human, you will shut down your cursed device and never show it again, the leader hissed. The girl's fists clenched. Her whole body trembled. For a moment, Alex thought she would stay silent, accept the order. But then she stepped forward, her glowing eyes filled with defiance. No, I will not stop. You can call me broken, you can call me cursed, but I will not let you take this from me. The crowd gasped louder now. Never in their history had a young one shouted at the elders. Some covered their ears as if her words themselves were dangerous. Others stared in awe. The elder raised his hand as though to strike her, but Alex moved quickly, grabbing her wrist and pulling her back. Enough, he whispered urgently. You're going to get yourself killed. She looked at him, her chest rising and falling fast, and for the first time she laughed, breathless, wild, like the music itself had taken root in her voice. Then let them try, she whispered back. Alex didn't wait for the elders to act. He pulled her through the back door of the shop, leading her into the crowded alleys of the trade station. Shouts followed them, angry voices calling her a traitor, calling him a corrupter. But the girl only laughed harder as they ran, her silver hair flying, her glowing eyes brighter than ever. When they finally stopped in the shadows of an empty corridor, both of them breathless, she leaned against the wall, still laughing softly. Alex shook his head in disbelief. You're crazy, he said. She looked at him with fire in her eyes. No, I am alive, and I will never go back to silence again. Alex studied her, seeing not just curiosity now, but something stronger. She was ready to risk everything for this strange new hunger. He knew then that this was no longer just about music. This was about rebellion, about breaking chains that had held her people for centuries. And he also knew that trouble was only beginning. Would you like me to now expand Part 5, The Secret Concert, into 900 words in the same suspenseful, simple English style? The station grew more dangerous for her with every passing day. Wherever she walked, eyes followed. Some full of disgust, some full of fear, some even with hidden curiosity. Alex knew it was only a matter of time before the elders banned her from ever leaving her home, or worse, punished her for defying their strict rules. That was why he whispered his plan one quiet evening. There's an old storage hall at the edge of the lower decks, he told her. It's big, empty, and no one uses it anymore. If you want to hear real music, the kind that makes your blood race, that's where we'll go. Her ears twitched nervously at his words, but her glowing eyes gave her away. She wanted it. She wanted it more than anything. She nodded once, quick and firm. Take me there. The hall was a dark, forgotten place. Rust covered the doors and dust coated the walls. Broken crates and discarded machines lay scattered in shadows. But to Alex, it was perfect. The sound could rise here without angering neighbors or drawing too much attention. He spent hours setting up the speakers, checking the wires, and making sure the old music player still worked. She watched him silently at first, her arms crossed, pretending she was not eager. But her sharp ears twitched every time he tapped the device, as though she already longed for the storm of sound. When Alex finally stood back and smiled, she stepped closer. Is it ready? She asked, her voice low, almost trembling. Alex nodded. Ready. But this time, it won't be just a whisper of sound like in the shop. This time, it will roar. The girl's chest tightened. She thought of her people's warnings, of their endless talk about silence, calm, and order. For a moment, she almost turned back. But then she remembered how alive she had felt when the sound took her. She straightened her back, her glowing eyes sharp. Do it, she said. Alex pressed play. At once, the hall exploded with life. The speakers shook, the walls trembled, and dust fell like rain from the ceiling. The guitars screamed with raw power, the drums thundered like a storm ripping through mountains, and the voice carried pure fire. The girl dropped to her knees, clutching her chest as the vibration rolled through her body. For a second, she thought it was too much, that she would break apart. But then the rhythm took hold of her heart, steady and fierce. Her trembling turned into strength. She rose slowly to her feet, her silver hair whipping around her as if moved by invisible wind. Her body moved again, but this time it was no clumsy sway. She began to stomp her feet to the drums, her movements wild and sharp. She spun in circles, arms raised high, her glowing eyes wide with joy. She laughed, a loud, raw sound, the kind of laugh her people never allowed. The sound filled the hall, mixing with the roar of the music until it seemed as though she was part of the song itself. Alex joined her, stomping his boots against the metal floor, banging his head with the rhythm. He shouted the words of the song, his voice mixing with the roaring speakers. She did not understand the language, but she understood the emotion, the anger, the freedom, the power. She copied his movements, stomping, turning, even throwing her head back as though she too could scream the words. Together, they created a scene no one in the galaxy had seen before, a human and an alien, different in every way, yet both consumed by the same storm. Minutes passed like seconds. Song after song filled the hall. She demanded louder sounds, faster beats, and Alex gave her all of it. Her movements grew bolder, her laughter louder, until sweat glistened on her silver skin. She looked nothing like the calm, delicate creature her people believed she should be. She looked like a warrior of sound. When the final song ended, silence fell heavy over the hall. Both of them stood panting, their bodies trembling with exhaustion and joy. The girl's chest rose and fell fast, her glowing eyes still burning bright. She turned slowly to Alex, and for the first time her voice carried no hesitation. "This is not just music," she said firmly. "This is my spirit now." Alex smiled, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Told you," he said. "Rock isn't something you just hear. It's something you become." She laughed again, soft this time, but full of warmth. Her laughter echoed off the empty walls, making the old hall feel alive again. For a moment, she forgot the watching eyes of her people, the angry whispers, and the threat of punishment. For a moment, there was only her, Alex, and the storm of sound that had changed everything. But outside the hall, shadows moved. Unseen eyes had followed them, curious about the forbidden noise that rattled through the lower decks. Word would spread faster now, carried on whispers of rebellion and fear. Yet inside, she did not care. For the first time in her life, she had found something worth risking everything for. Would you like me to now expand Part 6, the consequences, into 900 words with the same suspenseful, simple English style? They did not even wait a full day before coming for them. The sound that had shaken the storage hall was too loud, too wild to stay secret. By morning, the elders gathered outside Alex's shop with guards and followers. Their silver skin glowed faintly in anger, their tall ears twitching in disgust at the very thought of what they had heard. When Alex opened the door, they pushed inside without asking. The girl was already there, standing near the speakers, her eyes glowing faintly with excitement still left from the night before. The leader of the elders pointed at her. "You have shamed your people for the last time. We gave you warnings. You ignored them. You broke our law, and now you will be punished." She stood still, trembling, but she did not lower her head. The fire of music still burned in her blood. She could hear the rhythm of last night echoing in her heart. Slowly, she lifted her chin and spoke. "I will not stop. You can call me cursed, you can lock me away, but I will not go back to silence." The hall filled with gasps. Even the guards looked uneasy. No one had ever defied the elders so openly. Alex stepped forward, blocking their path to her. His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "She has done nothing wrong. She only listened. She only felt something you are too afraid to feel." The elder turned his glare on Alex. "You," he hissed. "You brought this sickness here. You poisoned her with your violent storms. For this, you will pay." Two guards moved forward, grabbing Alex by the arms. He struggled, but they held him tightly. The girl gasped, her chest burning with panic. "Let him go," she shouted. The leader only shook his head. "No human will infect our young ever again." Her fists clenched. Her people's way was to obey, to lower the head, to accept the rule of silence. But she remembered the music, the drums, the guitars, the voice that tore through her soul. That sound had taught her something her elders had never allowed her to feel: courage. She stepped forward, her glowing eyes fixed on the crowd. "You call it poison," she said, her voice loud and shaking the air. "But it made me stronger. When I listened, I felt fear, yes, but then the fear turned to fire. I felt alive. None of you understand because you hide in silence. But silence is not peace, it is emptiness. And I will not live empty anymore." Her words cut through the room like a blade. Some of the younger aliens in the crowd looked at her with wide eyes. A few even twitched their ears in doubt, as if something inside them agreed with her. But the elders grew more furious. "Silence her," the leader shouted. The guards moved toward her. Alex broke free with a sudden jerk, pushing one of the guards away. He stood in front of her, breathing hard. "If you want her," he said firmly, "you'll have to go through me." The elder's eyes narrowed. "Then so be it." He raised his hand, signaling the guards. Suspense filled the room like heavy air before a storm. The girl's heart pounded. She knew this was the moment she had to choose: run and hide forever, or fight for the fire inside her. Her decision came quickly. She dashed forward, reaching the music player on the table. Alex shouted, "Wait!" But it was too late. She slammed her hand on the button. The speakers roared to life. A heavy, savage rock song burst out, louder than ever before. The floor shook, the walls rattled, and the guards staggered back in shock. The elders covered their ears, hissing in pain. But the girl did not flinch. She stood tall, her arms wide, her glowing eyes blazing with light. The sound wrapped around her like armor, every beat of the drum syncing with her heartbeat, every scream of the guitar filling her veins with strength. The guards tried to move forward again, but the vibration knocked them off balance. The leader shouted something, but his words were drowned in the storm of music. The crowd outside pressed closer, curious and terrified at the same time. The girl shouted over the music, her voice fierce. "You cannot stop this! You cannot stop me! This sound is not your enemy. It is freedom." For a moment, everything froze. The guards hesitated. The younger aliens stared, and even Alex could not believe the fire in her voice. She looked transformed. No longer the delicate, quiet creature of her people, but something untamed and powerful. The song raged on, and she raised her hands higher, as if commanding the storm itself. Her laughter broke through the noise, wild and unstoppable. She had made her choice, and the whole station knew it now. She would rather face punishment, exile, even death, than return to silence. Alex stepped closer to her side, his heart pounding with pride and fear. "They'll never forgive this," he whispered. She looked at him, her face glowing with sweat and energy. "Then let them try," she whispered back. The music thundered louder, shaking the very air. The elders staggered, their authority cracking as the crowd whispered among themselves. Some looked afraid, but others looked awakened, as though they too wanted to feel what she felt. It was no longer just about one girl and one human. It was about a fire that had begun to spread, carried on the roar of forbidden sound. And no order of silence could put it out now. Would you like me to now expand Part 7, the transformation into 900 words in the same style? The guards rushed forward again, but the girl did not move away from the speakers. Instead, she grabbed the player and pressed another button. A new song exploded into the hall, louder, sharper, more furious than anything she had heard before. The guitars screamed like beasts, the drums pounded like war, and the voice roared with raw power. The sound filled every corner of the hall, shaking dust from the ceiling and rattling the very floor beneath their feet. She raised her arms high, her silver hair flying around her, her glowing eyes shining brighter than ever. Her body swayed, stomped, and turned, no longer clumsy but full of rhythm. She looked as if she had become part of the storm itself. The music no longer just surrounded her. It lived inside her. The guards froze, their balance broken by the heavy vibration. The elders clutched their ears, grimacing, but they could not stop her. The crowd that had gathered at the doorway stared wide-eyed. Some pressed their hands against their ears, but many could not look away. They were seeing something none of them thought possible. A girl of silence embracing chaos and standing unbroken. Her voice rang out, stronger than ever, cutting through the roar. "You told me sound would destroy me. You told me silence was life, but you lied. This is life. This is freedom." The words shook the crowd more than the music itself. Murmurs spread quickly. Some of the younger aliens looked at her with awe, their glowing eyes flickering with interest. They had never seen such fire, never heard such defiance. Alex stood at her side, his heart racing. He had brought her here, shown her this storm, but now she was carrying it farther than he had ever imagined. He felt proud, but also afraid. She was not just rebelling against her elders. She was rewriting what her people believed. One of the elders, his face twisted in rage, shouted, "Seize her now! End this madness!" But the guards hesitated. They looked at her, glowing with energy, her voice fearless, the music pounding like an army behind her. For the first time, they doubted their orders. One even lowered his weapon slowly, his ears twitching uncertainly. The girl stepped forward, the music carrying her like a tide. Each beat of the drums matched her heartbeat. Each scream of the guitar gave strength to her voice. She lifted her chin and spoke so the entire hall could hear. "You call me broken, but look at me. I am not broken. I am alive. I am stronger than your silence ever made me." Her words struck like lightning. The crowd outside gasped. Some aliens turned to one another, whispering quickly, their eyes full of shock. The elders' faces paled as they realized their control was slipping. The girl kept moving, her body dancing wildly with the storm. Her laugh broke free again, wild and full of fire. "You cannot chain this," she shouted. "You cannot kill it. The sound is inside me now, and it will never die." For the first time in their lives, the people saw something new, a different kind of power. Not the calm glow of silence, but the furious light of chaos embraced. And it was beautiful. Alex leaned closer to her, shouting over the music. "They'll exile you for this. Maybe worse." She turned her head, her glowing eyes meeting his, fierce and fearless. "Then I will be the first exile who sings," she cried. The song raged higher, reaching its peak. She threw her arms open wide, and the vibrations filled the air like a storm breaking free of chains. The crowd no longer whispered. They roared with shock, some even cheering against their own fear. The elders, trembling with fury, realized they could not silence her. Not now. Her voice had reached too many ears. The fire had spread, and no command could put it out. When the song ended, the silence that followed was not heavy this time. It was alive, charged, humming with something new. Every alien in the hall could still feel the rhythm inside their chest. They had tasted something forbidden, and they would never forget it. The girl stood tall, sweat shining on her silver skin, her breath heavy but her smile wide. She looked around at her people, then at Alex. Her voice dropped low but carried clear in the still air. "This is only the beginning." Alex stepped closer, his grin matching hers. "Then let's make it louder." She laughed, throwing her head back, her tall ears twitching with pride. The storm was hers now. What began as fear had become fire. What began as weakness had become strength. And though her elders had tried to silence her, she had risen higher, carrying the spirit of human rock deep inside her heart. For the first time in her people's history, silence was broken, and they would never return to the old ways again.